Hello, Miles Mustangs. Yes, it's Carolyn one more time for another art project for this week. And today I'm bringing you a fun project using watercolor paint called Blobimals. So I've shot this video 4 times and had technical problems every time. So I'm going to try to make it shorter and hope that I can get you all the information you need. So here you have 2 Blobimals. And by the way, Blobimals means blobs that look like animals. The project was created by a wonderful teaching artist named Carla Sondheim. So here you go. We've got 4 blobs, guys. Blob 1, blob 2, blob 3, blob 4. And you can see that we've turned 2 of the blobs into fun little animals and 2 of the blobs into thought bubbles. So the interesting thing about this project is we're going to have our critters share a word where their thought bubbles overlap. So in this case, our shared word is the word fun, and the first sentence says, "Quarantine can be fun." That's this guy thinking that, and this guy's thinking fun starts at home. So, in order to get started with this project, here's what you're gonna need. First of all, of course, you're gonna need a piece of white paper. The white paper that I'm using is a watercolor paper, and it's 6 by 8 inches, but it can be as big or small as you like. If you don't have watercolor paper at home, I would recommend using drawing paper. You don't really want to use copy paper if you can, because it's so thin, but if all you've got is copy paper, use that. The other things you're going to need are a set of watercolors. So these watercolors came from Target. They were on sale for, yes folks, something like 88 cents. And I think these watercolor sets are available at the Dollar Tree, at Michael's, at Walmart, and at Michael's, of course. So the other thing you're going to need is some brushes. If you only have one brush, use what you've got. I'm going to use a big, a medium, and a small brush. You also need a little dab of some kind of white paint. Now, usually the watercolor sets come with white paint, so if you don't have white paint at home, you could always use this. It's a little blob of white paint in the watercolor set. If you have white paint at home, you could use acrylics or tempera paint, or parents, you could even use whiteout if you have whiteout, but some kind of white paint is needed. The other thing I very much recommend you have is a little paper towel so that you can dry your brush. And last but not least, of course, you will need a water container. So I'm going to put my water container right there. You've got to have some water for this project. And off we go. So the first part of this project is simply to make some blobs. Now, in order to make blobs for this project, you're going to need a lot of water in your paint. So I'm going to put a big drop of water in my orange, and I'm going to put another big drop of water in my brown. You can pick any colors you like, guys, but the reason why you need a lot of water in this project is you need your paint to be transparent. That means we want to be able to see through the paint. So lots of water. So here we go. I'm going to just take my brush, and I'm just going to make a big old blob. And in this particular case, guys, don't worry at all. You're not making an animal, you're just making a blob. So there's blob number 1. Here's blob number 2. And you notice I'm using the biggest brush. It's nice to have a few things sticking out of your blobs, because the things that are sticking out could be turned into tails or feet or trunks or ears or something like that. So be sure that your blobs have some stuff sticking out in them. Make sure that your paint is not too dark. I'm going to put a little bit more water to get some of the extra dark paint out of there. Your next 2 blobs, let's see, I think I'll put a little blue, and I think I'll put a little purple. You want to make sure that your paint is nice and thin, nice and watery. So I'm going to make like a big old thought cloud up here. There's one. And here's thought cloud number 2. I'm going to get a little extra out of there. Thought cloud number 2. Now the thing about these thought clouds is you want to make sure they overlap. So that means one thought cloud goes on the top of the other one. Alrighty? So another thought cloud's okay if the paint mixes a little bit. I don't care. Not a problem. So at this point we have a paper with 4 blobs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what you're going to want to do next, this paint looks a little too dark. What you're going to want to do next, guys, is simply set this paper aside and let it dry completely. Because the next steps that we're going to do involve putting other things on top of dry paint. So you want to make sure that your paint is pretty dry. I'm just going to add a little darker there on the edge. All right, so I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to bring over one that I've got already that's dry, dry, dry. So here we have again the two thought bubbles and the two blobs. And notice I added these little dots that connect the thought bubbles to our friends, the guys. All right, so once this is all dry now, I'm going to bring you another one. I'm going to show you one where I've added, these are dry, 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 I added white with my white paint. Here I've got two eyes. Here I made one white eye. And you'll notice that I already started drawing. I used a super fine Sharpie, and it's called ultra fine Sharpie. But you don't have to use this, guys, as always, if what you've got at home is a black pen or a black colored pencil or even a pencil. You could even use a pencil, I think. What I did was I used my black around the edges of my blob just so that we could start to see a little animal. And what you realize, of course, is that although this animal kind of reminds us of a bunny, I think I'll add a few little lines, it isn't actually a bunny. It's kind of just a little blob that reminds us of a bunny. And that's what the project is about you using your imagination and turning a blob into some kind of little animal that can have some thoughts up in his bubble. So I'm going to show you on this guy how you do that. Basically, I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to make some little lines, some little scribbly lines as an outline around the outside of the shape. And you can add some little things as you go. You could even, guys, once your paint is dry, you could actually take colored pencils and add some more color on here if you want. But the most important thing is that your blobs must be 100% completely dry before you start putting pen or even colored pencil. Because wet paint would probably wreck your Sharpie or your pen. And also, it could smear. So really and truly, you want to make sure everything's really dry. I'm just kind of going on the outline. I'm making some little scritchy, shaky looking lines. I'm going to give this guy a little hoof. So I'm going to just go around, around, around. We're starting to see some little legs. We can see a little tummy here. So remember that these animals will probably remind you of something. This guy kind of reminds me of an elephant, right? It looks a little bit like an elephant that's sitting down. But don't worry if your blobs don't look like real animals. They can be made-up animals. That's the fun part about this. All right, and then in order to see the eye, we need to go around the eye, scritch, scritch, scritch around the eye a little bit. And then in this case, my white paint is nice and dry. I think I'll give this guy an eyelid. And so I can draw right on top of that white paint because it's dry. I'm going to put his eyeball in the middle. Oh, he looks a little sad. That's all right. Okay, so now I've got two blobby animals, and my next job is to pick one word that both of these critters share up here in their thought bubble. So I think in this case, I'm going to put the word fun. I'm going to put the word love. You can pick any word you want, guys. I'm just going to put the word love up here where the thought bubbles overlap. So that means that both animals are going to use the word love in their sentence for what they're thinking about that they want to share with their friend, the other animal. I'm kind of going around the outside of the thought bubble. I love to outline because then you can really see it. But you know, these are just personal choices. You're the artist. If you don't want to outline, you don't have to. Okay, so I'm going to have this animal say, sharing fun is love. Sharing fun is love. When you love somebody, you want to share fun with them, right? And then I'm going to have this guy say, love is something I share with my family. Now, you can write anything you want, guys. Here we've got two animals both thinking about love. This guy says sharing fun is love. And this guy says love is something I share with my family. So maybe these guys are family. Maybe they're cousins or something. Who knows? So I hope that you have a wonderful time with Blobimals. And just for fun, I'm going to show you a couple of other ones. So here's another one. This guy says, I wonder if she likes ice cream. And this guy says, I hope he likes ice cream. So both of these critters are thinking about ice cream. And I've got one more to share. Here's one more. This one says, sure wish I could go to school. And this guy says, I am so happy there is no school. So have as much fun as you can with the project, guys. This one says, quarantine can be fun, and fun starts at home. That was the very first one. So I hope that you will have fun making Blobimals, and I would love to see them. So if you can ask Mom or Dad to take a picture and put them up on the Facebook page, share your Blobimals. Would love to see them. Okay, Miles Mustangs, I miss you. I can't wait to see you all. Much love, Carolyn.